Welcome to React TV. This is Don Friedman, President of the RIA Digital Assets Council. Today we have Caitlin Long, Founder and CEO of Avanti Financial Group. Caitlin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, it's my pleasure to be on.
So the first question we have for you is, you're a 22-year veteran of Wall Street, but you've been involved with Bitcoin since 2012. That's unusual for a Wall Streeter. What got you started, and why weren't you dismissive like almost everyone else on Wall Street?
Well, I was dismissive because everyone's dismissive in the beginning of Bitcoin, it seems. But I found it through alternative economic circles, and it really made sense to me when I was working on my large pension transactions back at Morgan Stanley, because I started to see some of the problems in the settlement system. And your universe is familiar with those. Trade fails, payments that get lost, especially if they're going overseas. The settlement system actually works reasonably well unless you've got a problem, in which case it's a royal headache to try to solve it. And what I figured out was that these new settlement systems, namely specifically Bitcoin, were going to help solve a lot of those settlement problems and make the ledgers more honest. I think we all know that there's some degree of, shall we call it, fault tolerance, to use a politically correct term, that we don't actually have to have 100% accuracy in ledgers as to who owns what, because the systems can't create that. They're never in perfect sync with each other. We've got a settlement system on Wall Street that's based on delayed net settlement. If we can go to a real-time gross settlement system where we cut out all the intermediaries and therefore don't need the delays, not only do we have a more accurate ledger, but we also allow your clients not to have their capital tied up in unsettled trades. And that creates more opportunities for everybody to earn higher returns.
Got it. Next question we have is, you're from Wyoming, and Wyoming is the leading state for blockchain and digital assets. Talk about what's going on in Wyoming.
Wyoming created a legal and regulatory regime to welcome the digital asset industry here. And frankly, what I predict is that all of your customers are going to end up with Wyoming law governing their contracts. Why? Because Wyoming law enables custody the way it should be, which is we're not turning over legal title to our assets when we give them to the custodian, as we are now in the securities industry. We actually, it's like a coat check or a valet parking arrangement. We're just giving temporary possession of the assets instead of giving the custodian legal title. And when the custodian has legal title, they can go and do things with it. It would be the analogy of if you had to give legal title every time you parked your car at a parking garage, the garage might turn around and, let an Uber driver drive your car and capture all the profits, and then maybe hand your actual car back to you. Maybe not. Maybe they'll give you same make and model year. But that's not the way it should work. It should work where we actually have the investors retain legal title. That's important as well, because in the event there's ever a problem at the custodian, some of you lived through the Lehman bankruptcy, and you know that what a mess it can turn out to be, even if it shouldn't be. The nice thing about custody for digital assets, if you're using Wyoming law and Wyoming custodians, is that your customers' digital assets are not part of the estate of the custodian, and therefore if the custodian goes bust, they can take their assets without having to go through the court process.
Good point. And lastly, what is your regulatory outlook for the future?
Oh boy, there's a lot. I think the SEC is actually going to be the most important player in digital assets next year, because the Coinbase IPO gives the SEC what is effectively a free shot at going in and really looking at everything that's trading on Coinbase and determining whether those certain things might be securities or not. They didn't want to have to take enforcement actions previously because there was a risk they might have ended up in court and might have lost. But now that one of the crypto companies has come to them and is working on an S1 for an IPO, the whole book's open now. And so I think we're going to get some clarity finally. That may turn out to be a wonderful thing for crypto. Or it may turn out to be that certain things are deemed to be securities and the crypto companies need to have broker-dealer licenses. We need to clarify all this. It's one of the reasons Wyoming did what we did. We created a special bank charter. Some of you know that banks have special status as qualified custodians under the SEC customer protection rule. And so that's why we've created that here in Wyoming. Wyoming companies are already fine. But the next question is, what if you're not dealing with a Wyoming company? Then you now have the SEC getting comments from the RIA community on whether trust companies should be qualified custodians, because until Wyoming came along, crypto companies couldn't get bank charters. Well, now they can. So the question then becomes, do you need one? And that's why the SEC is reopening the whole question of whether a trust company can be a qualified custodian. So a lot of roads lead to the SEC on crypto regulation in 2021. Keep your eyes open there.
Should be interesting. Well, Caitlin, thanks for your insight and thanks for being our guest on Readact TV.
My pleasure. Thank you.